Naomi Brooks had been invisible for most of her life. To the guests at the five-star hotel, she was just another maid, a quiet figure in a crisp uniform, blending into background, collecting discarded towels and polishing glasses until her hands ached. But one afternoon, a simple phone call shattered her invisibility. She picked up the receiver, and instead of English, she answered fluently in Dutch. That single moment, so ordinary yet so unexpected, caught the attention of someone powerful. A wealthy millionaire watched her closely, and within hours, Naomi's life would be pulled into a storm of prejudice, opportunity, and transformation. This is her story. Naomi Brooks was 26 years old, a woman whose quiet grace masked a storm of untapped potential. Born to Caribbean immigrants, she grew up in a neighborhood where opportunities felt more like distant dreams than attainable realities. Her parents had worked tirelessly, her father as a mechanic, her mother as a house cleaner, instilling in her relentless work ethic. From an early age, Naomi carried books everywhere, fascinated by languages. She taught herself Spanish by listening to neighbors, then French from borrowed library CDs, and Dutch through late-night online lessons. While her friends scrolled social media, Naomi built bridges to other cultures. But life had a way of ignoring brilliance in a black woman wearing a maid's uniform. At the luxury hotel where Naomi worked, she cleaned rooms that overflowed with wealth, silk sheets, diamond necklaces carelessly tossed on dressers, champagne bottles half drunk and abandoned. Guests often looked through her, as though she were furniture, not flesh. Co-workers sometimes dismissed her intelligence with a shrug, assuming her work began and ended with folded towels. Still, Naomi endured. She saved what she could, dreaming of one day escaping the endless cycle of invisibility. But for now, her reality was 12-hour shifts, aching feet, and a paycheck barely covering rent. The hotel was a world of contrasts. Glittering chandeliers hung overhead, but the staff corridors smelled of bleach and exhaustion. For Naomi, those hidden hallways were a reminder. Some people lived their lives in the light, while others, like her, kept the lights shining without ever being seen. And then came the day that would change everything. It was mid-afternoon, the hotel buzzing with preparations for an elite event. Billionaires, politicians, and CEOs were checking in, their entourages trailing behind them. Naomi was stationed near the front desk, helping with overflow housekeeping requests. That's when the phone rang. A guest call was routed to her, a simple matter of timing. She lifted the receiver, ready to follow the usual script. "Good afternoon. How may I help you?" But the voice on the other end wasn't speaking English. It was Dutch. And without hesitation, Naomi answered, perfectly, fluently, like a native. The moment hung in the air like a spark, waiting to ignite. Naomi's co-workers froze, eyebrows raised in disbelief. Guests nearby glanced up, startled. Few had ever heard her say more than a polite greeting in English. But now, here she was, speaking Dutch with confidence, professionalism, and ease. Whispers spread quickly. Some staff smirked, mocking her under their breath, accusing her of showing off. Others dismissed it as luck, assuming she'd memorize a phrase or two. But Naomi knew better. This wasn't luck. It was years of study, discipline, and passion finally slipping through the cracks of her invisibility. Among the guests standing near the marble lobby was a man who noticed everything. His name was Alexander Roth, a millionaire entrepreneur known for his global businesses. To him, languages were the currency of power, and hearing a hotel maid switch tongues so effortlessly was like finding a hidden diamond in plain sight. He didn't applaud, didn't interrupt, didn't even smile. But his sharp eyes followed Naomi with intent curiosity. The call ended quickly. Naomi set the receiver down, her cheeks warm from the stares. She wanted to disappear, to shrink back into the shadows where she had lived so long. But whispers lingered. Some staff mocked her accent. A supervisor rolled her eyes, muttering that Naomi should stick to cleaning. Humiliation stung. But before she could retreat, the millionaire approached the front desk. "I'd like to meet the maid who answered that call," he said flatly. The words sliced through the air. Heads turned. Naomi froze. Why would a man of such wealth and status request to see her? Summoned to a private lounge, Naomi's hands trembled as she smoothed her uniform. She imagined the worst: accusations, ridicule, perhaps even punishment. But what she found instead was an unexpected turning point. Alexander Ross sat by the window, sunlight reflecting off his tailored suit. He regarded her with the same intensity he used to evaluate business deals worth millions. "You speak Dutch," he said simply, as though confirming a fact. Naomi nodded, unsure if her honesty would help or harm her. "Yes," she admitted. "I taught myself." Silence stretched between them. Then Alexander leaned forward. "My company has international branches," he said. "We deal with Dutch clients every day. And yet, I've struggled to find someone here who understands the language and the culture with such precision. Tell me, Naomi, what are you doing here, scrubbing rooms, when you clearly have skills far beyond this lobby?" Her heart pounded. No one had ever spoken to her like this, not as a maid, but as a person with value. Yet before she could answer, her supervisor burst into the room. "This is highly inappropriate," the woman snapped. "Naomi is staff. She's not qualified for her." But Alexander silenced her with a look. "I asked for Naomi. No one else." The power in his voice was undeniable. The tension was palpable. For the first time in her life, Naomi stood at the intersection of invisibility and recognition, and the choice was no longer only hers. What followed was the unraveling of barriers Naomi had battled her whole life. Alexander offered her an opportunity, a position in his company as a translator and cultural liaison. It wasn't charity, it was recognition. But her path wasn't smooth. Hotel management tried to block the transition, accusing her of overstepping, warning her not to embarrass the staff. Naomi, however, refused to step back into silence. With Alexander's support, she resigned in the hotel and stepped into a new world, one where her skills weren't hidden but celebrated. Weeks later, she walked into an office building far removed from the smell of bleach and the weight of invisibility. She wore not a maid's uniform, but a tailored suit, carrying not cleaning supplies, but documents, contracts, and respect. Her mother cried when she told her the news. Her father, worn from years of labor, hugged her longer than ever before. For them, Naomi's triumph wasn't just personal, it was generational. She had proved that brilliance ignored is still brilliance, waiting for the right moment to shine. Her story rippled outward, a reminder that potential is not defined by uniform, paycheck, or prejudice. It lies hidden in countless people, overlooked because of the color of their skin, the accent in their voice, or the job they hold. As Naomi stood in her new role, overlooking the skyline of a city that once erased her, she whispered to herself, "They'll never ignore me again." And the question lingers for all who hear her story. How many more Naomis walk among us, unseen, their brilliance buried beneath society's prejudice? And when will we finally start to see them?